Wade and Wade Reacts.
We got a request to react to a video titled Super Robot Wars 50 Games That Never Left Japan. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to Region Locked. Today's episode comes courtesy of our Trivia Don patron D180223, who chose the series and helped by providing us with the bulk of the research. Super Robot Wars, or SRW for short, is a series of turn-based strategy games featuring appearances from popular mecha found in various different anime shows, manga, and video games. The plot and characters from all of these mecha series are combined together to form one solid narrative, and the games are usually coupled with extensive battle animations. Normally, games within the series make use of traditional strategy RPG mechanics and deviate from this very little. The series has more than 50 games under its banner, and we won't be able to explore them all individually for that very reason. The success of the first game in the series spawned multiple sequels and spin-offs, releasing on at least 18 platforms, with each new title bringing in and debuting different robots and characters from countless anime, manga, and games. If you can think of a popular Japanese media featuring mecha, there's a good chance it shows up in one of these games. Much of the Super Robot Wars series relies primarily on its story, with gameplay sticking to a fairly formulaic standard across all of the games. The game's stories are told through text-based cutscenes and dialogue boxes, while battles take place in the form of a typical strategy RPG. The player's units are positioned on a grid, and during the player's phase, units can be moved closer to enemy units in order to initiate attacks. Each of the player's units has a wide variety of their own unique attacks, which can be executed when in range of their opponent's units. The defending unit is capable of retaliating during an attack, being given the choice of defending against an attack in order to reduce damage received, evading to increase the chance of the attack missing entirely, or countering the enemy's attack with their own. In later games of the series, units can also support one another when positioned closely, such as jumping in front of allies to take reduced damage in their place, attacking alongside allies, or even initiating powerful combination attacks to devastate enemies. Each pilot also has special commands known as Spirit Commands, which provide a variety of different effects, including healing or stat buffing. After the player has finished commanding their units, or chooses to pass their turn, the enemy will initiate their phase. Battlefields can also feature varying objects and terrain. These can affect the strategy of how units should be used, with some being stronger within one location or weaker in another, and sometimes being unable to use certain mechs in a battle at all. Each mission will have an objective or multiple objectives, which can also change as the story progresses on a battlefield. The player is able to save in the midst of battle, allowing for strategic saving. After each battle, the player is able to bolster their team by upgrading their unit and pilot stats. Both pilots and mechs are upgraded separately from one another. Using cash obtained from defeating enemies, the HP, EN, armor, mobility, and weapons of mechs can be upgraded to make them more effective on the battlefield. Pilots can have their stats strengthened or be taught new pilot skills to improve their performance and usability in battle. Mechs can also be strengthened or supported with items that can be obtained by defeating enemies in prior stages. As of course this is a broad overview of the large number of titles, some games have minor differences from one another in how these mechanics play out, but generally speaking, they all remain very close. As mentioned before, one of the main draws of the Super Robot Wars series is its stories, relying on a variety of different franchises coming together for a single narrative. To tie these together, rather than putting the player in control of an already existing franchise character, they instead take the role of an original character created by Banpresto. In some cases, the stories can involve plots from their featured series, though altered to better fit the scenario of a crossover. Series producer Terada has said that when writing a Super Robot Wars game story, the team will follow one of two methods. Either deciding on how the story will go overall before picking the series that will be involved and then fleshing out the story in more detail, or they will pick most of the series that they want to include and then write everything after the fact. The first game in the series was Super Robot Wars, released on the Game Boy in 1991. It consisted of characters from three different mecha franchises: Universal Century Gundam, Mazinger, and Getter Robo. Unlike most of the games that came after it, the player selects a team based on each franchise and that team's designated hero, rather than an original character created for the game. Over the many decades of creating games in the Super Robot Wars franchise, the company had designed enough of their own original characters to make spin-off games, featuring only Banpresto original characters, often referred to as Banpresto Originals by the fan community. These spin-off titles would be known as the OG or Original Generation series of SRW games. This OG series went on to create its own slew of media based on Banpresto characters, an anime consisting of 2 series, 52 episodes in total as well as a 3-part OVA, though the plot deviates from the Original Generation games. There are also manga based on the animated shows. Not only this, but the OG series also spawned an audio drama. As with a lot of games in recent years, Super Robot Wars also received a few mobile spin-off titles, such as SRW Card Chronicles in 2013, SRW Cross Omega in 2015, and SRW DD. Super Robot Wars Cross Omega in particular plays differently from traditional Super Robot Wars games. It mixes tower defense with RTS elements, similar to mobile games like Sega's Chain Chronicle. Cross Omega is notable because it features an outrageous number of franchises. More specifically, over 100 franchises, with a mix of familiar and surprising series entries. To name a few, Daitan 3, Super Sentai Zyuranger, Votoms, Medabots, Gurren Lagann, Little Witch Academia, Gunbuster, Crayon Shin-chan, Code Geass, Space Sheriff Garvin, Gundam Wing, Fooly Cooly, Mega Man, Van Dread, Sakura Wars, and even Godzilla. Due to the extensive multitude of licenses of the series, it's been difficult to localize and release these games outside of Japan. For the past 25 years, no mainline or traditional Super Robot Wars game have ever gotten a Western localized release. The only exceptions are the OG and Endless Frontier games, which feature original characters exclusively without a single licensed character or series involved, translated and published by Atlus. These games would have had less issues from a licensing standpoint, as Bandai Namco could deal with the rights for the rest of the world internally. When it comes to the world of fan translations, several games within the series have been hacked for English-speaking audiences. Aeon Genesis, a team of translators that crop up on this show time and time again, have worked on translating Super Robot Wars games since the early 2000s. Their work includes full translations of the original game released for the Game Boy, Super Robot Wars 2 on the NES, Super Robot Wars 3 EX and Gaiden for the SNES, and Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden for the PlayStation 1. They continue to work on translating further games even at the time of creating this video. Another team led by King Com, which is a brilliant name by the way, has translated Super Robot Wars J for the Game Boy Advance. Steel Soul and his team have translated Super Robot Wars A Portable for the PSP. OG 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Advance suffered from poor sales, often cited for containing only original characters from games never seen outside of Asian markets, and also because of their release towards the end of the Game Boy Advance's life cycle. Endless Frontier is a spin-off title for the Nintendo DS that deviates from the traditional tactical RPG elements of the mainline SRW games. It was jointly developed by Monolith Soft and Banpresto. The game has an overworld and party system similar to that of traditional RPG games. The battle system is similar to that of Namco Cross Capcom, a PS2 crossover game which Monolith Soft previously developed and was also translated into English by fans. We've actually done a video on that previously, check out the top right corner of the screen. Besides original characters made for the game, Endless Frontier also features original characters from Namco Cross Capcom and Xenosaga. In 2016, on the 25th anniversary of the Super Robot Wars franchise, Namco Bandai released Super Robot Wars OG The Moon Dwellers, the latest entry in the OG series at that time, for both PS3 and PS4, with language support for Chinese, Korean and English, but only released in Asian territories. They even included a complete summary of all previous OG games in a 4-hour featurette. However, the translation of the Moon Dwellers was seen as being of a low standard. Though English-speaking players could easily follow the story of the game, some dialogue was stilted or phrased poorly. In early 2017, and still in the spirit of the franchise's 25th anniversary, Bandai Namco revealed that much like Moon Dwellers, Super Robot Wars V, the latest mainline entry in the franchise at that time, would be released on the PS4 and Vita in Japanese, Chinese, Korean and English for Asian regions. Super Robot Wars V is the first ever mainline SRW game to receive an official English release, as prior to V, only a few OG games received the English localization treatment. This was followed by Super Robot Wars X a year later in 2018, also on the PS4 and receiving the same language packs as its predecessor, including English. However, SRWX is unique in the sense that long-time members of the SRW community, such as Christina Rose or Dramata1, who did fan translations of earlier SRW games such as Alpha Gaiden, were recruited as freelancers to help with the translation of the game, greatly improving the English script as compared to Moon Dwellers in 2016. Super Robot Wars T, the most recent entry in the main series at the time of this video, also includes English language support, but again only in Asian territories at this time. The game also features the debut of Cowboy Bebop into the series, a show extremely popular with Western audiences. The team focused heavily on the results of a poll issued to players in both Japan and internationally, leading to the choices made for which series would be included. The developers also wanted to broaden the age range of those who would be interested in playing the title, including Captain Harlock SSX for an older audience, Magic Knight Rayearth for those slightly younger, and younger than that, Cowboy Bebop. They also included Expelled from Paradise and Mazinger Z Infinity, highly requested additions from more recent years. Christina Rose was once again recruited to be the lead English translator of the game, thus ensuring that the game had a solid English script. This shows that in recent years Bandai Namco have made a demonstrably conscious effort to meet the demand of the overseas market and create games with English language support. Namco Cross Capcom released in 2005 exclusively in Japan, with Western fans crying out for a release at that time. This likely led the company to acknowledge the Western audiences for some of their titles, such as Project Cross Zone, or more relevant to anime and manga audiences, Jump Superstars and Jump Ultimate Stars, J-Stars Victory Versus, and most recently Jump Force. As the Shonen Jump brand has a strong following in the West with series such as Naruto, Dragon Ball, and One Piece, the company had evidence of potential sales outside of Asian territories. However, mecha anime, despite having a strong cult following, potentially doesn't have the same scope compared to mainstream anime audiences, which is most likely why the vast majority of these games have yet to see localization or release. With the company having begun to include English language support within games, though still only releasing them in the Asian market, this allows for English speakers in the region to play their titles, as well as opening a loophole for those in the West. With online distribution becoming more and more common, as well as region-free consoles, Westerners can simply sign up to a different regional online marketplace and still download the titles. This, in theory, negates the company's requirement to work with license holders to re-evaluate their contracts for new territories, though whether the company had this in mind when creating English language support remains to be seen. Regardless, it's a welcome addition for many fans around the world. That's all for today, but don't forget to check out D180223's channel for all your SRW needs. And again, thanks to him for all.
Hey, shout out to the subscriber that asked us to check this video out, and shout out to Did You Know Gaming. This is a channel that we've never heard of. It seems, based off this video, that this YouTuber has a lot of good videos, so we're probably gonna check out some more of his videos in the future. And I did not know that Super Robot Wars was kind of a game that you couldn't really access overseas until this one. I thought that all the Super Robot Wars game were just so popular that people even overseas was able to access these games easy. But it seems like if you didn't live in an Asian territory, you couldn't even access this game. You probably had to, I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably pirated the game, and then a lot of people probably knew somebody or knew a company that would send the game overseas so they could play it.
That was surprising to hear. I thought for sure that Super Robot Wars was available in the States since its inception. It's crazy to hear that. I think 2018 was the first year that it was actually becoming available overseas, and they were getting good translators to translate the game from Japanese to English. I also liked how he broke down how the gameplay worked, or how it works. I've never seen an actual footage of gameplay from SRW until today. I thought that maybe you press a button and the animation starts, but there's so much to the gameplay, it makes me want to get this game myself. And not only that, but also the history of this game and how hard the developers worked to get it over to Western countries and other countries internationally makes me also want to play Super Robot Wars.
Yeah, they saw that money from that Western market and they knew they had to get some of that.
They had to get in on it.
Yeah, and another thing too that surprised me about this video is that, because I'm not tapped in with the online anime communities or anything like that, so I thought that mecha anime was just big, and I didn't know that mecha anime has a cult following. Now, some people You're gonna have to let us know down in the comments. Does Gundam fall under that same thing in the West? Is it a co-following? Or I'm pretty sure Gundam is the biggest mecha anime, but is it as big as any other anime? I would assume that it is, but I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I always assumed that everybody knew about Gundam, but maybe that's not the case.
Yeah, I was talking about just like Gundam too, but mech anime in general.
Right, right.
Like, is that, because he said it's not really that popular overseas. I don't know. And if, you know what, probably, because when we look online, we don't really see mech animes talked about. Like when you just scrolling down your timeline,
True.
you'll see like
True.
something like Jujutsu Kaisen or what's the other one? Solo Leveling or one of those type of Fire Force or something like that.
Right, you don't see anybody talking about Getter Robo.
Nah.
And not even Gundam, even though Gundam is definitely the most popular one.
Yeah. Now I have seen some Gundam posts, but I don't know if that's because it's in my algorithm or not.
That could be the case. That does it for our reaction to this subscriber request. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video from Wade and Wade Reacts.
And Wade.
Peace.